there are people waiting for you. There are people waiting for you to give them inspiration to take that step that you know you are ready to take. And so I'm inviting you guys to take that on today, to really just use this conversation as a catalyst for you to unleash your absolute brightest and best self. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Power in the Pause podcast. Don't forget to hit subscribe so that you do not miss a single episode that comes out every single week. And I would be so incredibly grateful if you would please leave a rating so that more people can find this podcast and get the support that they need. So let's dive into today's episode, where I am joined by my dear, dear friend, Marlo Lyons. Hello, Marlo. How are you?
Hello. Hi, Wendy. I'm great. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I am so honored that you are here today, and I'm very much looking forward to our conversation today about how it is that you yourself have propelled through the pause. And we're going to talk about how you are thriving through your latest career twist. And I am just... everything you're going to say today is going to be so incredibly relatable to so many of you guys out there. And before I share more about why, I want to share with you all more about Marlo. So Marlo is synonymous with resilience. She is a career executive and team coach, but that is just her profession. When you dig deep into Marlo's life, you realize that she lives by her trademark saying, "Life isn't linear." And much of her life unfolded and changed when she took a pause, dug deep, and both found and developed resilience. So Marlo, thank you for being here today. You guys, Marlo and I go way, way back. Like, I mean, what, 15 years plus?
A long time. Yeah.
We go way back.
Years, yeah. Easily way back to when you were pivoting.
I was pivoting. It was my first pivot. And Marlo is the reason that I found out about the world of coaching, what it was. She was my inspiration to dive into the same coaching program that she got her certification from, that I also got my certification from. And so it feels so full circle to have you here today and to talk about this topic, because you have had multiple pivotal moments in your journey as well, where you have had to pause and reflect and gather the strength to push through. So can you share a little bit about what that journey has been like for you, and especially the most recent one that you have made?
Sure. I mean, it goes way back, right? When I think back, I think a lot of us just kind of go through life and we don't really realize what we're doing and when we're pausing. For me, I was a TV news reporter. That was my first job. And I took that job. My father used to watch the news and say, "Hey, maybe you can do that someday." And I'm like, okay, I can be a journalist. Sure. I didn't know what I wanted to be. Who knows what they want to be when they're in college? And so I interned and I became a TV news reporter. And then I got fired. I was 26 years old. And I was fired because, quite frankly, I was angry. I was angry. I was frustrated. I was sad because I was engaged not too long before that, and then unengaged. So my heart was broken. And I look back then, at the time I was devastated, in fetal position on the couch, right? But what that did was, that was my first pause. It was the first time I sat there and said, am I angry? Or am I misunderstood? Who am I? What am I? Who do I want to be? And I put myself through what I consider these days would be called anger management, right? And because I couldn't express the emotion, and I couldn't figure out where the emotion was coming from and what that emotion meant. And I basically would sit there in the library and I would read books on anger management. And I realized that a lot of that came from fear. A lot of that came from, frustration. A lot of that came from control, came from all different places. But I started measuring it in my body, right? And I realized, like, the littlest things were up here and they shouldn't have been. And so after a year of that, I came to the point where I was like, oh, I'm not reacting at all. This is great. I remember calling my mom and screaming, right? And so I got a new job. I got back into TV news to get out. And I went to law school at night and became a lawyer. And that was a backup. It was a straight backup. Again, it was not me pausing and thinking, what do I want? There's a difference between what you can do and what you want to do. Mm-hmm. And this wasn't a pause of thinking. This was I want a backup because I need to support myself. So became a lawyer, moved to California, worked in entertainment for a while as a lawyer. And then I just, after 12 years, I worked in reality shows, which, I worked on all your major shows, right? Real Housewives, The Apprentice, all of them. And I just sat there and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I just can't, but I have no idea what I want to do. Back to fetal position and crying. And I decided when I paused again, I met with a career coach, and he wasn't great, but he was good enough. And he got me to pause and he got me to think. And I thought, okay, what do I want to be? And I started calling people and talking to people. And I realized I wanted to go into HR. So I did. I became a strategic HR business partner, right? Coaching C-suite, and then also doing all of the HR programs and delivering those. After a number of years in that, and I just left my job. So a number of years in that, I know. And in the course of becoming an HR business partner, I got certified in coaching. And I loved it. I loved everything about it. It was helping people. It was really connecting with people. It was helping them move to the next step, right? And I became certified in HR, and I didn't love that as much, but I did it, right? And so I spent, 7 years in HR. And then I had a moment again where they were calling people back to the office. And I have now moved. I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona, and my office was in California. And I knew I wasn't going to fly back and forth every week. I'm a mom with 2 kids, 2 neurodivergent children. And there was no way I was going to do that. And so I had to really stop and think. And I was scared out of my mind of going out on my own, even though I knew every day that I loved the coaching, but nothing else. So I knew where my heart lied, but I was so scared because it had been years. I'd had this side business and I hadn't made it a full business. Yeah. And this was the push I needed. And I paused and I said, I'm going to do this. And I did it. And I have to tell you, and I say this all the time, I have been happy in my life. I was happy when we adopted children. I was happy when I got married. I've been happy a lot in my life. I have never been this gloriously happy at my core. At my core.
Ooh, I just got goosebumps, Marlo. And it's so powerful to hear you say that, because I feel like I've watched this journey with you, because you when I was becoming a coach, you were shifting into HR literally 7 years ago, which is so interesting because I feel like you've watched me, I've watched you, and you just talked about the fears that you had. And I know a lot of people listening, the fear creeps in when any of us are thinking about making a change, because typically when we pause, we do realize that things aren't working, that things are, the way things have been are just not satisfying. They're just not fulfilling to us anymore. So can you share a little bit more with our audience around how it is? Because this was also not an overnight decision. I just want to put that out there, you guys. This was not an easy overnight quick decision. So how did you work through those fears that came up during your, almost like your awakening, right? In making this transition. And what would you say to other people that are really in this place of, maybe they're facing similar anxieties? What would you say to them?
Wow. It took me a while. I've had this side business of coaching. I've been doing career coaching for years. I've been doing career coaching since my very first job. I held a seminar on how to become a TV news reporter back in the day. So I've always been doing this. But
we don't realize it, right?
We don't. I don't mean to realize what our calling is, right? We don't stop. And part of that is just not stopping. You're working full time and you're going and you have to accomplish this and you have to accomplish this. And a lot of my clients are like this. They're going. And they don't think they can set boundaries. They don't think they can pause. They don't think they can stop. And you know why we don't stop? Because if we stop, it's scary. It's scary to stop and actually think and figure out what we want to do.
Right.
And what if it doesn't bring in as much money? And what if it isn't as great as we think it's going to be? And what if it's just everything runs through your head, right? But what you don't realize is that you know intuitively, you do know, you're just not stopping to listen
Right.
as to what is inside you and what you want.
Right.
And I constantly tell people it's not what you can do, it's what you want to do. They are two very different things. I can do lots of things. I can go practice law. I can probably be a head of business operations. I can probably, be a life coach if I wanted to. I don't want to. Those are not things I want to do. I do career coaching because that is what I am called to do. That is what I love. And every day, every conversation, every connection, I feel gloriously happy. Gloriously happy, not in somebody else's pain or being lost or anything like that. Happy that I can have an impact on another human and help them get to the point of gloriously happy.
Yeah. And I mean, what was the conversation you were having in your head at the time to overcome these fears when you allowed yourself to actually pause?
Yeah. So I looked for jobs. I will tell you, right? Because there's always that fallback.
Security.
Of course, security. I looked for jobs. I would tell people I'm going out on my own, and then I would look for jobs. I was being pushed out, right? Because they were calling people back to the office. They offered me many other jobs. Actually, they asked me to interview for numerous other jobs. And so I could have stayed. I could have stayed employed. And the mind that what I kept going in my head was, I like doing this. I don't like doing this. This gives me energy. This doesn't give me energy. This sucks it out of me. This doesn't suck it out of me. This makes me feel empowered, good, impactful. This makes me feel horrible. And it's not about me. It's about other people. But if you are not whole, if you do not pause to think about all of these things, what gives you energy? What environment do you want to be in? What interactions do you want to have? If you do not pause and do that, then you just keep on the hamster cycle. You just keep going and going. So in my brain, I kept saying, do you want to keep going? Can you keep doing 2 jobs? You're working full-time and you have a full-time coaching business. Can you keep doing it? No, I was exhausted, right? And you're raising 2 children. No. And trying to be there for your husband and trying to do a million other things. No. And I kept having to force myself to say, one job that will be fulfilling and only doing what you want to do. And that, to me, I kept smiling every time I said that. I kept saying, that's it. One job, the one job you want to be doing every single day. And I'm talking to you because I like talking to you. And I talk to others because I like talking to them, but I don't do every podcast because if I don't want to do it, I don't do it. That's what life is. What you want to do, not what you can do.
And I mean, you and I were talking before we hit record that life is now.
Life is now.
Marlo and I both have been through the loss of a parent. And similarly, like wake up calls of like, life is short. You've got to be happy. It's, you never know. Like you don't, God forbid you go tomorrow. Like, do you want to go tomorrow hating what you wake up and have to go do every day? You know, you deserve to feel fulfilled in every aspect of your life. You deserve to wake up every day feeling inspired and being excited about the change that you get to create in this world, the lives that you get to impact. And, you know, I think that, you know, you're bringing up like a really important theme, which is really around that the journey to fulfillment is not, I love your life is not linear. I was literally just going to say that it's not linear. So, you know, you talk a lot about how you felt like you were out of alignment. Well, you said before we were recording that you were out of alignment with your values. And so how can you talk more into the value that you were not honoring by staying stuck in corporate and not taking the leap, and how, when you finally made the decision to align with your values, that all of a sudden you were living in alignment with your purpose and creating that legacy that you so badly wanted to build?
Absolutely. Well, values are what's important to you, right? Like that that's the simplest way to describe it, right?
Right.
And so I started really thinking about like what's important to me. And security was always the top of my values, always. And security for me was defined as a
Mhm.
paycheck, having money coming in. And that kept me in these chains. It kept me from exploring anything else because that was the top value. And I finally realized that that's not the top value. Yes, I need to make money. We are a two-income household. But the top value for me became freedom.
Mm.
And freedom for me was defined as doing what I want to be doing every single day and feeling valued for it. That was the top value. And I realized that, yeah, I was valued at work. I sure was. I can't say I wasn't, but I wasn't doing what I wanted to do every single day. That was a big piece that was missing. I was doing some things I wanted to do every day, but I had things I had to do, right? They were part of my job that I was getting paid for. And it wasn't until I realized if I could do what I want to do every single day, and don't get me wrong, I have to make money. This isn't like I'm out hiking all day long or, eating bonbons, sitting on the couch, right? I have to work. But if I can work and make money and do what I want to be doing, it literally just opened up this whole new level of, I keep using the word glorious happiness because I think most people live in the world of content. I'm okay. Everything's fine. I should be grateful for what I have. What's that?
I said, it works.
It works. I should be grateful for what I have. There's people suffering all over. There's so many different ways to say content. And I've been content most of my life. I'm a pretty happy person. But glorious happiness, living in alignment, feeling that peace, that's a whole different level that I don't think many people reach. And once you reach it, it's almost like you've unlocked the key to something that you have to share because people don't know how good life can actually be. Even the worst case thing that happens, my kid melts down in a store, whatever, I am so peaceful in helping her be okay herself.
Well, because
versus that level of,
exactly. Well,
Well,
because so many times, like, and this as we've learned when we were being trained in our coaching too, is that like when you're not fulfilled in one area of your life, it plays out in every other area of your life.
Everywhere.
Even if every other area of your life feels great, it bleeds in. And so what I'm hearing you say is it's really about elevating, that, or really neutralizing that negative energy and increasing it, right?
Absolutely.
Like raising your vibration, raising that frequency so that it extends across every other area of your life. And, you've mentioned, here on the podcast that, you are the parent of neurodiverse children. And that alone takes resilience and adaptability, right? So,
Yes.
I'm sure that there's other people that are listening and tuning in who can relate to, being exactly like they're seeing them in you, right? So what insight can you offer others who are facing, unique challenges at home, right? But yet they're seeking that shift in their career to make that changeover, but there's that fear that goes into also like, how is this going to impact my kids? Am I still going to be able to do both? Like, because I have to imagine you were kind of straddling both worlds, wondering like, can I do this and still be there for my daughters and be there for my clients? So how did you like share some of that insight?
I think the biggest thing I did was two things, actually. One, I got a planner. I know that sounds super silly, but it really helps me understand what my ideal day is, right? And I use the full focus planner, but it's like I have an ideal day. My ideal day doesn't start with any meetings till 11. And why do I do that? Not because I'm messing around, because I like my writing in the morning and I like to pause. I like to pause and think about where I'm going for the day and make sure that I'm aligned with that. That was one of the biggest things I did. But then on top of that, I took a breath and I said, what do my children need from me during the week, because it's not all about me and work, right? They need to see a healthy mom, and they need to see a healthy energy in the room. And so for me, I realized that when I'm on a call at 8 a.m. on the way of dropping off my kids for school, which is what I was doing when I was in corporate, that's not good for them. They need their mom to talk to them in the car on the way to school, wish them a great day, and tell them that I love them. And every morning, Wendy, I drive them to school. Every morning, I have drop off, my husband's pickup. Every morning, I am not on a call. We pick some great music. We sing together. I tell them I love them, and I wish them a great day. And I see their energy change, right? Because I'm not stressed out that I'm on a call and, oh my God, I need to be listening. And oh my God, 7,000 things are going on. You need to be in alignment everywhere. You need to figure out, how is your work impacting your life? Good and bad. Good and bad. You may be making a ton of money. That's great. But if you're feeling guilty about your children, about your husband, about something else in your life, your own health, your own well-being, you can't get to the gym, then what change can you make to change that energy? Because that energy will then change everything around you. Everything around you. It changes your family. It changes how you look at life. It changes your friendships. It changes your connections. It changes how you coach, right? It does, because you're not stressed. You're not tired.
And you're not distracted, right?
You're not distracted by
You're
7,000
present.
things. You're present. Oh, present is such a big deal. Present is such a big deal. I also don't take meetings after 3:30 when my kids are home, by the way. And I spend time with them, whether it's homework. Sometimes they're just messing around, whatever. Could be cleaning up the room, could be folding laundry, whatever it is. I'm not in a meeting. It's rare. I will do it every now and then if it's necessary for a client, but it's rare. Yeah. And I think setting those boundaries, I hear too many people, and by the way, I was one of them. I can't do that. I have so much work. I can't, take lunch off. I can't take a break. I can't take a walk. People keep scheduling things on my calendar. I can't. And you know what I did my last 2 months of work after I knew I was leaving? I blocked off my lunch every single day, and I blocked off a walk every single day. Isn't it amazing how all of a sudden you can do that, but you couldn't do it before? Isn't that shocking? My meetings didn't stop. I was still working. They hadn't found a replacement for me yet, but all of a sudden I had time. Why don't we take time now?
Well, it's giving yourself time. No one's, it's like, and I used to do this. I was like waiting for people to be like, oh, go take your lunch. Like we sit around and it's like, we wait for people to give us the permission, but it's like, nobody's going to give you the permission. You got to take it. You got to give it to yourself, give yourself the permission, give yourself the grace. I tell my clients that all the time. I'm like, block out 30 minutes for lunch. Block out a 10-minute walk, like twice a day, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, or just go outside and get some vitamin D, like get some fresh air, just like, don't take your phone with you. Like just leave it. Like just be, be present. If I don't get outside during the day, I'm like a zombie. Yeah. It's not pretty. I'm not going to lie. It's not pretty.
I eat lunch outside every day. I try to take a walk every afternoon, even if it's 15 minutes. Yeah. I work out every single morning. And now I've always done that, but now I work out with less stress. I can say, like I fully present. I'm not thinking about what I have to do that day or debating whether I should work out a little longer or shorter. I do my workout. Right. There is a gloriousness that people don't realize exists.
Well, and as kind of coming full circle too, like the question that's coming up for me that I'm curious to ask you is, we all, money makes this world go round, right? Money, I always talk about money is an exchange of love. It is a gift of love. It is a gift of love for yourself. And, I'm sure you were in this place of like, I'm going out on my own. How am I going to replace my paycheck? Am I going to replace my paycheck? Is this going to work?
Absolutely.
And you took the leap. Mm-hmm. So, and if people also were paying attention, you built it while you were still there. So you were I mean, you were working your side hustle until you could make it your full-time thing. So
Well, I was forced to.
till you were forced to, yes.
Mhm.
And my other question for you about this is like, looking back, right? What would you say to the version of you that was like, maybe you shouldn't do this, like the self-doubt, the fear, like that version of you standing where you are today? What would you say to her now?
Wow. What would I say? I would say doubt is the precursor to fear. And don't doubt yourself because you've been doing this for your whole life. Career coaching. I've been doing it my whole life. And if you are confident that you can do it, and you know you can from all the clients you've helped, you know that, then go for it because you can do it. You will make it work. And I think the biggest thing for me was, should I lower my rates when I go out on my own? No, my rates actually went up. Not because I needed to make more money, but because I'm that valuable.
Right.
And that's not arrogant. I know what I do for my clients. And I've never had a client complain, and I always do a survey. So I know what I do for my clients.
Yes.
And so I think just believe in yourself, quite frankly. Believe in yourself, and you will be at a level of happy that you've never experienced in your life. That's what I would say. Yeah. You believe in yourself and you will be at a level of happy you will never experience in your life. You have never experienced. And it will take you so much further than you ever expected.
Yeah.
I have no fear anymore. I will tell you, Wendy, I did a budget beforehand. I know the bare minimum I need to make for us to, quote, survive. Right? Because I need numbers. I'm a numbers gal. I need numbers. I need to see it. I need to know. I need to understand. My kids are both in private school to help them with, executive functioning and things like that. And so it scared me out of my mind. But when I saw the number, I was like, oh, okay. I can do that. Of course you can.
Yeah.
And we don't all, money means different things to different people. Let's just say that. Money means different things. For some people, it means respect. For some people, it means value. For some people, it means being rich. For some people, it means buying things. I'm all about experiences, not about things as much. And I wanted to make sure that we can maintain that lifestyle of having experiences, taking our kids on trips and seeing things and exposing them to the world, right?
Yeah.
And I realized that all I was doing was making money and not living.
Yeah.
So if that's what my purpose is, to expose them to the world and to see things and to have experiences, then what am I doing? And so I did a budget. I know what I need to make, but it's not even just about the money. I know how many people I want to impact. I know what I want to do, and I know how I want to do it. And I don't do anything I don't want to do on a given day. Ever.
Because you don't have to.
I don't have to. I don't have to. And that's what I think the freedom and the peace is. That's where the peace comes in, right?
Yes.
Do you think before you take on something, I'm sure people ask you all the time to come on a podcast or do this and that. Do you pause and think, do I want to do this?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I've said no more than once.
Me too.
And so many old me used to be terrified. Oh God, what are they going to say about me? Oh God, they're going to hate me. They're going to blacklist me. They're going to, I would get in these,
whatever.
Yeah, or like, but I really want to help this person, but like, but it doesn't feel in alignment. And I recently actually was presented with a pretty big ask by somebody who, had I stayed in my old business, it would have been a no-brainer yes. But because I was in this pivot of my own business, I sat on it for 3 weeks because I kept going back and forth. And ultimately, I knew the decision, and it was a no.
But you knew that the first day, didn't you?
Yes, I did. 100%. I absolutely knew it was a no. And then my ego Right. But this is what we were talking about before, right? It's like understanding your intuition versus your ego. And
Yes.
I was straddling the two as I was pivoting my business. I was like, my intuition's telling me this, but my ego's telling me this. And one day I was listening to my intuition. The next I was listening to my ego, and I was like doing this cute little dance back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. I mean, and ultimately, what you've talked about, what this podcast is all about was once I allowed myself to just truly listen to the message in the pause, which is your intuition.
Which is your intuition. Yep.
The answer was no.
Bingo.
And
right there.
And honestly, like I have felt like this energy, it's like this halo's around you. I felt like it was hanging over my head. This decision was hanging over my head. And the second that I said no, it was like, it was gone.
It's amazing because I've had that my whole life where, somebody invites me to a party. I don't want to go. I'm tired. And I sit there and I will debate it all the way up till the minute I'm supposed to leave for the party, whether I should go or not go to the party.
Right.
And most of the time I would go. And I was never going because I really wanted to go. I was going because I felt I should go. And it was some other reason, right? That I should go to this thing. And now if I don't want to do something, I don't do it. And I think it's because I'm very much about not being selfish, but sometimes selfish is good. I love this quote by Ben Aldis. He says it every single time I take a stretch on Peloton. He says, self-care is never selfish. And I always do his stretches for that very specific reason. Self-care is never selfish. And self-care is doing what you want, not harming other people, not doing bad things, but doing what you want that is healthy for you. Right. And listening to yourself about that.
Yeah. So such good advice. I say that all the time. Self-care, because we were talking about, I was saying how, that's what enabled me to take the leap and to start my new business, was really enabling myself to just start taking care of myself and listening to what felt best. And so, I hope those of you guys who are listening to our conversation, that you guys are hearing how much power there is when you harness that pause, right? Because there's so much self-discovery to be had that we don't gift ourselves with the opportunity to lean into. And I always say, like, self-care can just come in the form of, like, I love how you talk about, you calendar block, like that's what it's called, right? Like, so setting the times of your day, like prioritizing yourself, prioritizing your needs so that you show up as the best, highest version of yourself.
Yep.
To really enable you to, I would imagine too, that it's like, you're so much more efficient during your day. Your clients are getting the absolute best of you instead of maybe depleted, Marlo, at times of the day, depending upon when you were taking meetings, right? So
they get the best of me, and I am not stressed about things I need to accomplish, whether it's an HBR article or other kind of writing that I'm doing or whatever. I'm freshest in the morning of writing. My brain is moving by 11 a.m. I'm ready to take coaching sessions. By 3, I'm tired. Yeah. I've never been able to drive anywhere long distance in the afternoon because I usually fall asleep in the car. So, I'm always in the passenger seat asleep. So I know after 3, I'm tired. I can't be fully focused. And you're right. They get the best version of me in that time period. And I think that's also about how many clients you take, right? I don't take a ton of clients because I want each client to have the whole best part of me, but also get the most out of this. So I don't have 100 clients. I don't know about you, Wendy, but I get 1 million emails a day. We can book up your calendar. And I'm like, yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm booked. Thank you. And I want to work with people that I want to work with, that I enjoy helping, that I enjoy seeing them have these revelations of this energy and the intuition and realizing it's all inside them. 100%. You and I just unleash it.
Exactly. The beauty of it. Oh.
It's amazing.
Marlo, I love you so much.
I love you too.
And I know we could talk for hours on end, which we do when we get to see each other.
Yes, exactly. Hours and hours.
But I just want to thank you for coming on today, for just everything that you are and who you are. You've been a source of inspiration to me, honestly, since, I mean, I tell you, like, I wouldn't be where I am today had you not written that freaking Facebook post 7 years ago. Like, I don't know where I would be. It's legit. Like, I don't know where I would be had you not written that post. And I say that because everybody tuning in, imagine how many lives you can change by one post, one phone call, one pivot. Marlo changed my life. I don't know where I would be. And so I hope that you guys find in today's episode the power behind what is possible for you. And all it takes is taking a breath, taking a pause, just giving yourself a beat to really listen to what your intuition is telling you to do, because there are people waiting for you. There are people waiting for you to give them inspiration to take that step that you know you are ready to take. And so I'm inviting you guys to take that on today, to really just use this conversation as a catalyst for you to unleash your absolute brightest and best self. Marlo, thank you for being my guest. Thank you for being a friend, and just for the work that you do in this world. And I want to make sure that everybody knows where they can find you. So please share with our audience today the best way and places to find you.
Thank you for having me. My website is www.marlolyonscoaching.com. For those who can't have coaching, I wrote a book. It's called Wanted a New Career. If they can't afford coaching, the reason I wrote the book is for one reason only. I can't coach everybody. And so exactly what I do with my clients is in the book, and even better, self-serve videos are now out as well. For those who would like to move along with a coach, almost live. And so all sorts of ways just to help yourself move forward in your career and in life.
Wonderful. Well, you guys, all of that information can be found in the show notes, including a link on Amazon to get Marlo's book, a link to her website, and all of her social media links as well for you guys to find her. She's on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. She's got great content. You're going to want to follow her. So thank you all so much for tuning in today. Again, I hope that you found the wisdom and just the inspiration from today's episode to dig deep and find your power in your pause today. So thank you all for tuning in, sending you all so much love, light, and joy as always. Mwah. Bye, everybody.